Interesting. Mm. I'll keep that. So this is incorrect. What am I doing here? Um, mm, so it's froze now. Oh. Mm-mm-mm. Mm. Oh man. What was it called? It was called. Mm. Okay. Oh here. See what I do. Mm. This is gonna be nuts. Something I already couldn't accomplish has come back to haunt me. What if I click on that? Nope. This is insane. Mm-mm-mm. So that's the only way to go live now. Why can't I access? Hmm. Let's see. I click here. Be on. I already got this. Oh, this is freaking insane. This is. um, this is insane. Let's see. How do I? Okay, well, what is it going to do here? Not a thing. It's not going to do a thing. I never could get it to do a thing over here. Oh, it's over here now. Wow, okay. Well, I don't even know what I clicked on, but okay. Now it's over here after all this time. I'm ready to cuss and fuss. Ain't that, don't cuss. So this is over here. I guess. Excellent connection to say. So okay. All right. Maybe that's how I do it. So what did I do? I did. Hi. I'm fine. How about yourself? Can you hear me? They changed some stuff here on YouTube. And so I'm trying to figure out how to work this mother sucker. So I think that I'm live. I think I can be seen, but I don't know if I can be heard. I'm trying to figure out what I did to get here. Okay. That's this webcam. Manage. Good morning. Stream now class. So I got stream now, but this is fine if y'all can hear me. Can you hear me? You can? Okay, that's good. Well, I got here somehow. I knew they made some changes. I just wasn't sure what, and I don't know how I got here. Everything is good. That's good then. That's good. Now, if this is the case, then with this, I'm just gonna try some little test out here. I went to sleep too early, so I'm up in the middle of the night. Up in the middle of the night. Let's see what I can have fun with. Right now I'm just in my computer trying to see. Let's see. I assume that it's doing. Let's see. Guess I got the latency not set at the right speed again. The suggestions, the audio streams current bit rate is 0, is lower than the recommended. I don't even know what a widget is. Okay. Oh, okay. So, wow, that's a big delay. Viewer activity. No new super chats or members yet. Analytics. Stream settings. Latency is on normal, but it's real delay unless live replay when stream ends. How y'all doing tonight? What's going on in y'all world? What part of the world are you in right now? And are you ready for the world to open back up? I'm just running different tests to see. No, that's wrong. Oh, come on. Okay, yeah, you see me added some balloons. Okay, yeah, just trying to make sure I still have control of this here situation. Okay, let's try this here. No, not that. Not that. Welcome to my channel, Can Angels Fly, Tarot, and more. If you're new here, God dang it, if you're new here, my name is Nancy. Let's do it. Okay. And I know y'all got to be tired of hearing about the coronavirus. So this video is, I don't think is about the coronavirus. Is that correct? I had to wait all this time for the thing to show me where it is. It's so crazy how much is delayed now. Oh, I know why it's delayed like this, because I think they're checking everybody's videos to make sure we don't talk about certain content. That's what I think is going on. That's what's going on, because it's a major delay. It's like it got to be at least a minute. Okay, I'm gonna put that there. Can that fit here? Boop, 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 boop. Here, you move over here. And get over there. Ha, ha, ha. And I know, again, y'all probably really tired of hearing about the coronavirus, but, and I'm not really talking about it. Here, just testing some stuff out. Oh, no. All right. Oh, just gotta remember how I got to remember how I got on here. Okay, I'm gonna lock that like that intentionally, and I'll lock that on. Then I'm going here and oh, I didn't do that correct. Oh, oh, oh. Mm, mm, mm. Mm. Nope. Okay. Maybe I did that right. I don't know. Hmm. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Hmm. can't do that like that. Okay. Mm. 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 Let's see. um, Chris says, are you from Denver and at work? All right. Um, I'm not ready for everything to open up because I still have to work. Oh, you still working? You one of those essential workers. I don't want anyone sick around me. My mom already has health issues. I can't get her sick. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to be able to do about this current circumstance. The situation here, it's insanity. Um, I can't deny that people are getting sick, have gotten sick. Some healed, some did not, some died. So we can't ignore that kind of stuff. Um, it's like, what do we do from this point on now, really? What do we do? Uh, what do we do? I have not worn a mask. I do carry hand sanitizer with me, so whenever I have to touch something, I clean my hands. Other than that, I just keep 6 feet away from people, and I'm really leaning on what I have learned over the course of my life, as about the common cold, the transmission or the transference of common cold and things like that. Um, or you're a security guard. Okay, so you may have somewhat of an isolated type of job. I mean, that's kind of cool having an isolated job where you don't have to be amongst a lot of different people going in and out, and people have different type of behaviors. And when I say different type of behaviors, I mean there's people that will come into an establishment knowing what's going on, and they will hack and cough, just really careless, and people do it intentionally. um, Before my daughters were sent home from work, my daughter talked about how a lady just walked up on her and coughed in her face. So people are cruel. They're oftentimes looking for some form of excitement or to get some type of response out of people. And so, number one, not only are we dealing with whatever's going on now, which is the coronavirus and everything, we're also dealing with people's true natures. And so that's some mm, now this thing is right here. I want hopefully it allow me to erase what I want. Many times it does not. Chris, I got sea moss, detox water, zinc, and multiple vitamins. I deal with the public, mostly the homeless. Oh Lord. And that's a whole nother thing, the homeless. That's a whole nother thing. And I mean, what what is the government doing with the homeless population? They already weren't doing anything with the homeless, but in light of all of this, it's a lot of stuff being revealed about our system, um, as far as like money, coming up with all this money to pay. I'm not a person that got a lot of money, but it's something suspicious to me that the government is giving out these stimulus checks, except if the person is an immigrant, except if they have been claimed on somebody else's taxes. You know, it's a few stipulations there or restrictions, but that's a lot of money to hand out. But yet we're trillions, the United States, anyways, trillions of dollars in debt. Like, it's something up. And I know that this has to be on a setup to like totally crash the economy. It's got to be to crash the economy. Maybe to get the whole world on a cryptocurrency or something like that, and a universal income for the majority. So it's something going on. It makes me very uncomfortable. Um, and then when it comes to people, what is it, unemployment, an additional $600 on top of what people already are eligible for. So my thing is like, where's all of this money coming from? Yeah, yeah. Then the homeless, having to finally address the homeless. Finally, it takes us to go to this extent for them to acknowledge people in the situations that they are in. I mean, something is real weird about it, and I'm talking about outside the coronavirus and everything, and the what's it called? Uh, Outside the coronavirus, outside of being quarantined, the basically a halt of seems like 90, at least 95%, just throwing a percentage out there of of our construct, just freezing it. Something don't seem too right to me. So they can't pay us our money. The government said it was broke. Right. You said you was broke a long time ago. You kept talking. They kept talking about how it was potential for economic collapse. How Social Security wasn't gonna be there for the elderly. The retirees in a few years. Talking about 401ks and trying to back yourself up. And it's something definitely going on. I know it is creating this tremendous rift, economic rift between like the poor and the rich. Right now, the rich are about to just, I don't understand the level of wealth that people want to acquire in life. I don't understand that. Um, I really don't understand it. I really don't. I heard somebody the other day, I'm all over the place, I'm just on here. I heard somebody the other day here on YouTube make a statement. They said, well, hot dang, I think his name Bill Gates, could give everybody in the world $1 million. And I think, and then I ended up watching a video of a man visiting a museum. He pushed the button, and Bill is supposed to be the voice of Bill Gates, saying he's worth $7 billion or something like that. I don't know how much he's worth. It was a museum. The video was some years ago. And so I was like, wow, it's 7.5 plus billion people in the world. So let's say hypothetically, Bill Gates does have $7 billion. That means that he could literally, wait a minute, it's 7 billion plus people in the world, and he got $7 billion. No, he'd give everybody $1 in the world. $1 in the world. That's crazy. That's crazy. That I think it's $1 in the world. That somebody can have so much money that they could give everybody in the world practically $1. That's some deep stuff. But yet the country is in debt. It can't pay their global debts. But then, and then like I live in Michigan, they can't fix Flint water problem. They can't help the homeless. You know what I'm saying? They threaten against Social Security not being there for the retirees in a few years, but yet you can pay out all this money. It's a trick to it. And a part of that trick ends up with the wealthy getting more wealthier. They have a lot of opportunities here as the canvas to our world is been reset, and they already have the funds, social influence, the knowledge base to redevelop our world structure and develop it in their favor, just like they did like during the 1930s, during the Great Depression. This time, with the level of technology that exists, there are people that can take over this world and make the rest of humanity subservient to them. That's some deep stuff. And I just wonder, where are we going from here? Where are we going from here? Again, I'm just on here running my mouth, just talking a little and trying to figure out how to work this new setup here. And which is interesting. You make comments, but it shows I have no viewers at all. This thing is interesting. I ain't gonna let it stress me. I'm not going nowhere, but I'm just setting up some stuff. Now what do I do here? I want to do this. I want to do this. If it lets me, will it let me? It let me do it. Okay. All right. All right. So now I don't need this anymore. Hi Z, GZ 7 Nations. Got nothing on me, but they really do. Say they ain't got nothing on you, but they really do. Heck, they got a whole bunch on me, but they really don't. They do, but they don't. I mean, this whole thing is insane. And then if a person is eligible for a stimulus payment, then it can be seized if you own any child support or any private debt collectors are after you. This is this whole thing is so insane to me. YouTube be playing games with the views. Oh, yeah, YouTube been threw me away a long time ago. So I'm trying to get over that as well. And that's a whole nother thing. While the collective is trying to figure out what we going to do next, I'm sitting up here not only dealing with that, I'm trying to figure out where am I going to go here on YouTube. Because tarot reading is one thing, and I enjoy it, but it can get a little boring as it is redundant. It's the same old storylines remixed. And so I shared everything I learned in my life on this channel just about. I did all of my research, and I saw what was coming, and I reported on it, over these last 5 or so years. And now that it has come into existence, I really don't know what to do on my channel, because I cannot see me moving forward and just constantly reading tarot over and over again, over and over again. Again, it's redundant. Enough is enough at some point in time. There's only so much meditation you can do before you got to go ahead and act on what you know. And so I know we're in a place where we need to act on what we know. So I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And so what I have been doing over the last few days or last week or so, is I've been doing a lot of studying and researching in order to see where are we headed now. And the information that I'm getting, I got to research more, because this is some real strange, unorthodox information that I'm picking up that I never really foresaw on the horizon to occur. My last live stream, I talked about the potential, and I hate this part. I really do, and I need more evidence. I need clarity, because I last live stream I was talking about aliens and stuff, and based on what I've experienced in my life. And I mean, if it's true, cool. I'll ride that wave, learn as much as I can learn. But what I'm I'm dealing with here, I'm not getting enough hardcore clarity. Um, it's a lot. What I'm noticing at this point in time, unlike any other, everything is encoded so it can be decoded. And so I find myself at this time really, really overwhelmed because um, over the course of the history of my channel, I talked about the various branches of knowledge, um, these different fields that the typical common person really don't look at, like sociology, psychology, on, just anything, any and everything. And I know that I can only deal with one field. I'm only one person, so I don't know where to go now. Like I say, everything on my channel thus far that I've ever shared came from my unique set of life experiences. Um, it was everything I ever experienced, led me to be able to see where we were headed as far as what's taking place now, and a few things still yet to unfold. But we so close to that I see the like the completion of, excuse me, everything I've perceived throughout my life. And so, like I said, now it's this strange stuff coming up, and I'm like, okay, I done seen some flickers of what I'm picking up now to be our future. And I'm ready for it again if it's the case, but it's not enough evidence, and I can't gather the evidence because there's too many fields to study, too many. It is There are hundreds of fields. There are only so many branches of knowledge, but each branch of knowledge has subsections and even subsections. And so again, I can only go into one. And what do I go into? Because what I'm saying is each branch of knowledge, the truth is encoded throughout everything relative to that field. There are certain things in that field, in any given field, that are direct. It's forward, you know. Um, but once you dive off into a particular field, whether it's law or it's botany, or it's we talked about taxidermy, or if it is music, any field, psychology, physiology, anything that you can think of, any field. That once you get into that field, it's a lot of um, information and knowledge that ends up unfolding once you get in that field. So the information that we, people need now to be able to see where we're headed, so we can get ahead of what's going to happen. It's in those various fields. Again, a person can only study one field intensely or in depth. Now, they may end up inadvertently, I think, or indirectly tapping into other interdisciplinary fields that have to do with it. Like if a person was a mortician, they would tap into maybe restoration, like of the body, and cosmetics and different things like that, and reconstruction. They would tap into medicine as far as like a doctor, and different things like that. That's just one branch. When you deal with law, you would touch into possibly not only if you were a lawyer, you touch into law as far as laws themselves, ordinances, policies, judges, the judicial system. Those are interdisciplinary branches. When you deal with like not psychology, philosophy, you could interdisciplinary jump into folklore and different cultures and their worldviews and their practices and different things like that. And so, what am I saying? Right now, it appears that humanity is at a place where we need a higher level of what they like cognitive abilities, comprehension, and awareness. This is the time that it's the age of Aquarius, um, where we need to each um, dive intensely into our relative fields of interest. I don't know, certain people are gardeners. People need to, I think, take that or should take it. I think this is the time period, I'll say, to take that to the next level. Um, when I say take it to the next level, and then I'm sure there are people I know like this, but we're talking about 7.5 plus billion people in the world. We're talking about people that are homeless and don't have access to resources and things like that. Um, and then there are so many different restrictions or limitations that people deal with at a time when the time beckons us to um, again be proficient in a particular area. Now that's something that kept coming up in my past studies as well. Um, but like me, what field of study do I go into? You know, because I've been a person that researched everything that I experienced in order to gain clarity on it. I couldn't take it surface level because it wasn't having a surface level effect on me. So I dove off into many different things. And so I'm like an incomplete book. I got a lot of subtitles, but not a lot of content or context to me. Um, and the only way to get the context is to dive into a particular field, which I'm having an issue with. Because tarot reading is not the thing that, um, I mean, it can be, but like here, just on YouTube alone, there are so many tarot readers too. It's insane. Um, and I'm not trying to attest to anybody's uh, skill set or skill set or anything like that. It's just a lot of tarot readers. So that is not a field that needs any more, uh, I'll say workers. Um, we need more healers, in order to take the power out of the, you know, healers and herbalists and different things like that and chemists to take the power out of the pharmaceutical and the healthcare industry. Because right now all of that is like monopolized, and as long as it's monopolized, that suggests then that the people have to submit to whatever their policies are, and so that's moving us into our new world order. To have to submit. We all gonna have to submit because we're not knowledgeable enough. You know, in order to balance the scales of equality on every level, everything. We're going to have to, it seems to me that it would be more beneficial for us in humanity to participate with locally, with each other. Participate locally with each other. And that's to say, like within community, very community based um, um, very community based activities, as far as anything you can pool, or pool in your community would be beneficial. From what the gardeners to maybe it's a nurse in the community, a doctor in the community. Um, I don't know. Again, we're talking about what do we need to sustain our lives? That's the first That's the first level, because there's levels to everything. The first level is a community must sustain its life. If it's broken away from the rest of the collective, it has to sustain its life. all the people, all the parties' lives in the highest of equality. And so we need teachers in our community. We need doctors, nurses in our community. We need people that know how to, again, well, they farm, not just garden, but farm, um, ex- uh, and to the extent that it can feed the quantity of people, or the population in a general area. That's the first level, before even getting to the point of living our best lives. Um, Somehow we got to get more localized. That was one of the last things I saw too. Understanding at the same time there's a hidden hand moving to reconstruct um, our unfolding reality. It's a hidden hand, and that hidden hand is designing our world construct, again, to benefit what we have deemed in the past the elite class. And the elite class are defined as people that have a high, or the highest level of awareness and comprehension about what's taking place at any given time. And they also know how to manage the masses and different things like that, which is so, I'll say, um, opposite to the rest of the people. What am I saying? I'm saying, hey, in localized, like in your community, people can't seem to pool together in a lot of communities, not all communities. When you get more professional communities, they have this ability as well to pool their resources as far as talents, skills, and different things like that, to be sustainably, locally sustained, But when we get in like communities like mine, where a lot of division has been, the people have been socially engineered to be against each other, and not, and to also like try to one up each other. It leads them not to be able to locally, um, work together. And so that's how these elitists are about to seize control, complete and total control of our world, and the economy, and the flow of the economy, and just the whole reconstruction of it, because we can't work to, even on again, a localized level. If we could work on a localized level, we would, what do they call it, like decentralize their power, you know um, why? Because it'd be distributed amongst the various um, um, communities, but because we're incapable of doing that, um, the things I see. And then not only do I see things in this on this physical realm, um, or physicality, again, I'm seeing some real strange stuff that kind of points to aliens, or um, when I say aliens, I'm talking about foreign beings, foreign people, or beings that are not humanoid. That's a whole nother thing. I'm ready to deal with it, but I need it to come out. But again, I can't find it wholeheartedly because I can't dive off into one particular field in particular. I'm still all over the place. Like over the last week or so, I just kind of just been all over the place. I've been dealing with like the year of the rat and what that really means. My research showed that, if I got to go back into it again, I'm overwhelming myself um, by jumping into so many different fields, jumping into so many different. Oh man, what am I doing? Um, okay, I don't need this anymore. I need to make sure. Okay, because this thing erase whatever it want to erase. it would do what it want to do. Because it want to do it. Uh, um, no, this is insane. Native pronunciation online meaning. It's, what is it? Something that I'm missing. I don't know what it is. Why is it? Pertaining to, made, or given. I don't understand something. I'm like, okay. Let's see. I can maybe look there and see. Go to my Wikipedia. I know y'all can't see what I'm doing. There's certain things about technology that a whole lot about technology I don't understand. That's it right there. So, an integrated circuit or monolithic integrated circuit is a set of electrical circuits on one small flat piece of semiconductor material that is normally silicon. The integration of large numbers of tiny MOS, oh, oh, through MOS transistors into small chips result in circuits that are orders of magnitude. In 1958, and the MOSFET metal oxidized semiconductor field effect transmitter in 1959. What am I doing, y'all? Again, I'm diving off into different things. One of the things that I've been diving off into, I just talked about, is the studying the year of the rat. If my research is correct, I'm not sure that it is because I'm jumping from one thing to the other. Is this is the year of the metal rat, and so that has some significance. And upon my research, just looking back in history during the years of the metal rat, there were a lot of airplane crashes. And so I'm looking into that. I'm still looking into that. It was deep. It wasn't even just that it was airplane crashes. That was the predominant thing that seemed like it kept reoccurring. But I think it was also trains and, was it boats? Trains and ships. All made of metal, you know, made of metal. Um, so I've been looking into that. And I've been looking into that for a reason. I seem like I see a correlation between multiple things. Um, I, I was saying how I talked about aliens that may be what people call now as reptilians. I don't know any much of anything about reptilians or aliens or anything like that. Um, but I take things into consideration when I research, and that which sticks, and that which falls away falls away. And so that's why you just saw me type the word coronavirus and then converted it into its anagram, which was it uh, carvo- yeah, carnivorous, carnivorous, um, meat eaters. And then I've been dealing with reading in the Bible, Leviticus, and it's a set of it begins with a set of instructions, actually culinary set of instructions. And this is just me sharing what I've been doing. This is nothing you could take serious or worry about or anything like that. This is just where my mind is being as I try to make sense of like this transition that we are currently going through, and looking at the remaining little scraps of evidence I've accumulated and or experienced in my life to see where we're going. Because remember, I'm supposed to be a psychic, so and I read tarot. Um, and so, with the little crumbs of evidence that still exist now that most things have already come into existence, now I turn to really consider for a second time in my life aliens, to take them into consideration. Um, and I'm looking at the coronavirus, which the term itself, corona, I looked at closely, but I did not look closely at coronavirus in order to get this carnivorous term, which is about consuming another animal or beast or something like that, in conjunction with some alien life form. What can I say? What can I say? I could think of two particular um, films, I guess I could say. One was a series. It is called The Twilight Zone. And in one of the episodes, it covered some aliens coming to Earth. And the aliens came to Earth and made contact with humans. But it was this language barrier between the aliens and the humans. And so the aliens gave the humans a book. And so the humans were trying to decode the book in order to understand it. But again, the language barrier was just that great that the humans could not, in the beginning, for the longest, for years, they could not decipher what the book was saying. But over that time period, humans got very comfortable with these aliens in this series. And and they got comfortable because the aliens came and helped to bring harmony and balance to the earth, by restoring fruits and vegetations, help cleaning up the earth, whatever. I think shared with them, clean energy, all kind of stuff. So it seems like it was making the human life better, and it was enhancing the humanity's lives. Um, and then the time period comes where they start a program. Um, so by now, the humans and the aliens have found a way to somewhat communicate, and the aliens extends invitation for humans to, you know, vacation on their planet, and people be accepted, and so the masses amount of people that board the alien life spacecraft to go vacation on the planet um, from where the aliens come from. And one of the scientists that were over the linguistics researcher was over trying to decode this book that the aliens had gave him, decided to go on one of these vacation things. And so his coworker, a lady, she was still working on this book, still working on this book. And after all the years, finally, all our mainframe computers finally just deciphered the title of the book. When she saw the title of the book, she takes off running to stop her coworker, the guy, um, from boarding the spaceship to be taken to the other planet with the aliens. And so she gets there right when the man was boarding the ship, and she's hollering, telling him, yelling, "Don't get on that ship, don't get on that ship, get off." But one of the alien beings is like helping or escort them on because they closing the ship up. She was like, "Get off, jump off." But he couldn't strong arm the alien because the alien was bigger than him and everything. She was like, "The book is not about like how to make life better. It's a cookbook about how to cook humans." And then the man is on the ship. All the people on the ship, plus people had already been going to these beings' planet, and so they were a food source. They were a food source for these aliens. Humans were a food source for these aliens. Um, I was like, wow, that took a turn I had never expected. And so the scientist, the researcher, the linguistics researcher, was on the ship, laying in the bed, just eyes wide open and aware, only one aware that he's going off to be food for this other species. Like, oh my God, all that time it was how to cook humans. It's about us being the cuisine for another species. um, and it's funny to me because I always used to joke whenever I ate, I always have felt guilty, and no, it didn't stop me from eating, but I used to feel guilty. Like one thing I could not eat. I made a rabbit one time years ago, and all I could think about was Bugs Bunny. I said, I can't eat bugs. And and that was probably because that wasn't a common dish that my family had. I was just trying to, do some gourmet stuff in the kitchen. But like chicken and hamburger and fish, just take for granted. Um, Even though I've had, of course, had my times of guilt. And I did go and I was a vegan for a while. Didn't matter. I feel guilty about eating the plants. Um, so, I guess it's part of being human, the experiences that we have. Um, and so I shared that particular, what do you call it, TV series, because I'm wondering, based on some of the things that I'm seeing, like the anagram of coronavirus, is that where we're headed in the future? Is that's what would be revealed to us? Anyway, this is this is 100% definitely conspiracy based. This is just the reach of the imagination. I'll say a reach of my imagination, um, from doing what research of so many um, subject matters at the same time, um, and not really knowing what's going on. And another movie I refer you to is called, I think it's Jupiter Ascending or something like that. Jupiter Ascending was about a young girl who had a stereotypical boring life, cleaning toilets, doing janitorial work with her family. She loved astrology, astronomy, and things like that. And she wanted a telescope. The telescope was very, very expensive, like $3,000. She couldn't afford it. Anywho, over the course of the movie, she finds out that she is I'll say, the queen of Earth. So she goes on this whole journey, the hero's journey, and discovers that, and she saves Earth from being harvested by some what do you call it? Immortal beings, beings that look just like us, just old as time. Um, they found that they could maintain their youth and uh, could maintain eternal life as long as they consumed the souls of humans. And so Earth was a farming a farm planet that they would harvest human souls every now and then. And even on their level, people were corrupt and just wanted to just go ahead and just sell all of Earth off, where they may just in past times just kind of plucked a few souls from Earth to sustain their immortality. Is it mortality? Immortality. I always get them mixed up. Mortal. I am mortal. I'm immortal. I look. Mortal Kombat. Mortal meaning they got immortality, I believe is the one. um, and so the corruption on the realm of the gods had them like, we just gonna just sell all Earth all off and just get all the money we can, boom, and just be done with it. And anyway, Jupiter, she saves Earth because she's actually a reincarnation or something of the owner of Earth, and saves all the souls on Earth. What is it about? Again, it's about harnessing human beings as a primary food supply to a more supreme being. And so, excuse me, it's interesting how life works, because like the what do you call it, the what was the name of that program I just said, the Twilight Zone. I just saw that last year. and the Jupiter ascending I seen maybe for the first time 3-4 years ago. But it's amazing that some of the information that I pick up suggests that might be exactly what we are, a food source, excuse me, for another species, which is okay with me. I hope they just don't eat me now. I think I'd be a good piece of meat, but that would be interesting. And anywho, I bring that up because I was talking about how I've been visiting the book of Leviticus in the Bible. And the book of Leviticus, if I'm citing the right book, is the first few chapters are about our instructions to how to prepare like gourmet cuisine. And it talks about the sheep, the bull, the ram, and different, we could say, animals, beasts. And it talks about how to prepare them, or souffle, not, is it souffle? Fillet them for the, is it for the gods or for the lords? Souffle them, fillet them for the lords. Fillet them for the lords. And I think about when I was in church and how, just without when you don't dive real deep, you really think, when you don't dive real deep, you're thinking, oh well, they're talking about for real sheep, or they're talking about for real bulls, or they're talking about for real goats, or birds, because they use the word flock, herd, is it flock, herd, cattle, um, again, sheep, bulls, and different things like that. But since I've been reading back over now, and I read over it, I even listened to the audio book and followed along. And I've been breaking it down. I'm still in the midst of doing that. Um, I'm like, ooh, well, the, that read can be interpreted a different way, as we humans are the actual flock of people. See, a flock means something in particular. I have notes here about it. I'm not going to go into detail. Cattle has some additional details relative to that term that we don't go into depth to study, or take in consideration. And the same thing with the word herd, or the term herd. And so I was between everything that I'm dealing with, is like, okay, is that where humanity is heading? I have heard just trending topics or subject matters here on YouTube are about there is a planned alien visit or a planned alien invasion. For me, that was way out there, way, way out there. But now it's not so way out there to me. And the reason why it's not way out there to me is because of two things that stand out in my life. And that's what my mom told me about being an abductee and being abducted multiple times in her life by some gator type beings. And then two is when I witnessed the watermark on that dollar bill, that time that I shared that I did, and what I saw. So, and both of those things suggest, at least for my mom, suggest to me that there are extraterrestrial beings or subterrestrial, wherever they come from, gator-like beings. That's one. And two, what I seen on that dollar showed like dinosaurs or crocodiles or whatever chasing and consuming people. And then I talked about how I saw it on my son's smart TV I think it was last year. It had to be last year. Um, and it was on the screensaver, and the screensaver was playing. And I was like, oh, yeah, some of that looked like that scene I seen on that dollar. So those are the little, again, crumbs of evidence that are still left behind that I hadn't taken in consideration. I wasn't like serious. But now, again, looking at the coronavirus anagram and seeing what that is, that's some deep stuff. And then when I was just doing some research the other day, and which book was that? Was it Matthews? Which one did I say? I think it was Matthews. And I was following or breaking down the term or decoding the significance of the name Rufus in the scriptures I talked about doing that live. And it led to, a particular genetic makeup. And it pointed to like red-headed people, and not talking about specifically the redhead people. Remember, we have to decode this information. But it's the genetic sequence that exists that only exists in 1 to 2% of the world's population, just like redhead people. Anyway, in all that research going into the folklore, it led to what? Crocodile type people, or what we call, many people call now, like reptilians. So I'm like, okay, again, a few more breadcrumbs. And so, anyway, I continue to kind of read and decode the scriptures in Leviticus. And the next thing it talked about is like looking at or evaluating the cattle or the herd or the people. And it talked about if a person's skin, taking a closer look at a person's skin, to see if they are, what they call it, what's the word the Bible use? If they are contaminated. It's not contaminated. What's the word? Mm, not contaminated. What's the word the Bible uses? I can't think of it. Do I have it here? I can't think of the word that the Bible uses, but basically, if a person is healthy or contaminated, the Bible talks about leprosy here, in what I'm talking about in this part of Leviticus. And the interesting thing, when I break down the word or term Leviticus, name Leviticus, it really talks about something that can be elicited for use. Elicited for use. That's what Leviticus is saying. It could be elicited for its use. And what can be elicited in this case? We're talking about a mammal, animal, for its usefulness. And in this case, I'm talking about being a food source, a source of food. Anywho, in the book Leviticus, as I moved through it talked about how to prepare the cuisine, the meat, the animal, the beast, possibly a person. It talked about how, like, the preferences for the preparation of these meats to be offered to the Lords, and it preferably they like frankincense, salt, and obviously they like fried foods too, because they talked about grease and flour. And in the following book chapters, it talked about like looking over the people. But I get the feeling, because we went from talking about animals to people immediately, with the, what I say, without a transition. It wasn't a transition. It went from animals, herds, sheep, cattle to people. Like, okay. And it says taking a close look at these people's skin, to see if they were, I almost had it, basically a clean specimen or not. And it was talking about if, like, the skin presented white spots or very light spots, then that person was X, Y, and Z. If a person presented very light spots and they were, we can say, the skin was not leveled, but there was like some dents or something in it where the white spots may set in, then the person is X, Y, and Z. It could be a form of leprosy. And it talked about like locking these people away for another week to like see if those spots changed, or moved, or like almost like, is it a live fungus? And I found that interesting. It almost seems like it talked about it in one verse, about a person that has like eczema on their skin. Eczema, all over their body. Does it appear all over, of their body? And it almost seems like it was saying, if so, then it is like a sign that it is not like a plague on them. It's actually like, ride this wave with me. If we're talking about a species other than ourselves, whether they're extraterrestrial or what do you call it, subterranean species, that want to use humans as cuisine, and they have to evaluate the meat sources like we do, with ours. They look at a person with eczema and says, oh, that person has eczema. Well, we know that they are, their meat, their flesh is suitable for consumption because it is having an adverse effect to this environment. It has an adverse effect to this environment and all the environmental and toxins. Um, so that particular meat source can be prepared. Then it talked about other spots that appear on people, like what do you call them? Like something like legion, not legions, like boils. Um, and it's like patchy boils, like patches of flesh that are raised up slightly. And it says if a person has this, then they are this. Either they have leprosy, or it's this, or it's that. Either it's a suitable, either suitable meat, or it's not. Basically, as it went through the different meats. The term Leviticus also suggests to check the eyes to see if a animal is contaminated or not, because some type of inflammation it can exist in the eye to show that that animal is not in a healthy state, and therefore what shouldn't be consumed properly. Um, Anywho, um, this is just all the little stuff I've been, kind of reading and decoding. And again, this is all my imagination. My imagination, but I'm just riding a wave as I share why. Um, and what was it? Was something else? Oh, another thing about the preparing these meats for these lords is that they don't want the skin. It appears. I mean, I still got more to read, but initially it doesn't show that they want the skin or the casing per se of the body, because it talked about how the what they call it, the priest are supposed to prepare or fillet the meat, the animal, possibly people, and they're supposed to open up, you know, the body and remove the kidneys. It's always both kidneys, and not only both kidneys, the fat around the kidneys and the fat from the inside. So they like fat. They like fat meat. They gonna eat me up. Gonna eat me up. Oh. And then it talks about I won't go into too much details, but it talks about washing the legs and the thighs and things like that. Just said wash them. For some beings, it talked about just like literally cremating them at the altar, cremating them. Some things were put on the altar. Some blood was put on the altar, depending on how the animal or mammal ranked, as far as its health and stuff. And then others, it basically, it seemed like I said, just cast them and cremate them, because basically it's not any good. But once you cremate, I ain't gonna go there. Make some good old flour, maybe. I mean gravy. I don't know. I don't know. And you know what? Another thing I find interesting when I look at my life in retrospect, um, in my past, about 12 years ago, I knew someone, and that person used to try to bite me, and I don't like being bit. Um, and he used to say, one day, I'm going to eat you up. I'm going to eat you. And the crazy thing is, when I first met them, they had this strange look to them. And it was almost like truly what I imagine when I see the drawings of reptilians, they almost look like the reptilian. And I used to be like, you want to eat me up? And they would try to bite me. I'm like, hey, they said, when the day comes, I'm going to eat you. I can't wait. I'm going to start with your nose. Do you know how weird that is? They used to always tell me that. And so one day I knew I was going to be in that company, and they come and they just turn and they just stare at me. Like, I can't help myself. Let me do this. I got to play with this camera. Where's let's see. Oh, maybe. Will it? Um, Crazy stories. I don't know. Something is wrong. Oh, God. It's always something wrong with my camera. Why does it not want to do right? I don't want to play with my camera. They want to act a fool. If I do it, is it? I mean, it's just everything I got. Just do what it want. It don't matter what I want. Anyway, one day I know I was gonna be around them, and sure enough, I'm around them, and they turn like one day, one day, I'm gonna eat you up. I know I'm gonna eat you, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna eat your. I'm gonna start with your nose, and I'm gonna eat your. I'm gonna eat your fingers, and I turn. Really? I said, well, and I pulled the knife. I was like, how about the day I start cutting you up to prepare to eat you up? And I was just as serious as they were serious. I just think about my experiences. That was some crazy stuff. And I was like, this is some weird stuff. Are they, what they call it, um, uh, carnivore? No, I'm not looking for the word carnivore. Um, Carnivorous. That's the word, carnivorous. That's the opposite of coronavirus, carnivorous. Um, accountable. Accountable. I was like, this fool accountable. Only thing holding them from me is that we got a market in the meat section. Otherwise, they eat me and my nose. Everything be full. Be full. So, and so back to Leviticus. I guess I'm kind of done with Leviticus. But I'm finding some strange things, is what I'm saying. Um, some real strange things. Um, real strange things. That would be an interesting reality if that was to come into existence. I don't even know what's wrong with this. I'm going to just leave that alone because it won't want to do what it want to do. Yep. Jupiter Descent or Jupiter Rise or whatever the name of that movie was. What else have I been dealing with? I've also been dealing with the book of in the Bible. Which book was I in? I went from Leviticus to Exodus. Exodus. In the Bible. It was Exodus. Exodus. Yeah, the book of Exodus. And so I've been slowly going through the book of Exodus, and it seems like there was another way to perceive the Bible, but I could be reaching again. This is just my imagination gone wild. Where are we going from here? And when I was reading the book of Exodus, originally I was led to believe through my earlier religious studies and things and participation is that Exodus was a story about um, I guess the Hebrews or something. Was it Jews? The Jews or something were in Egypt under the domination of the Pharaoh, and Moses was the chosen person by God who gets uh, the Jews out of Egypt, and it consists of 10 plagues, and it sends Pharaoh let them go, and they go out into the wilderness and head to the promised land, and they stay in the wilderness for 40 years before they are able to go on the promised land and claim that. Moses never make it in because Moses is strike a rock and make it give over water and in vain, you know. Just all kind of stuff. So, anywho, upon my current reflection, I'm like, it appears that possibly the book of Exodus could be interpreted as humanity's move from its dependence upon the gods to its dependence upon technology. Today, as I try to let this whole concept go, what I just said, all I could see next was that the last, what was that last little thing I was really into? It was another film, a series called American Gods, in which the Exodus, oh no, yeah, it happens just the same way. The American Gods. It's the exodus from up under the dominion of the ancient gods, or allowing the beliefs associated with the ancient gods to govern one's life, leaving that and headed toward technology as it develops and advances into a supreme being, um, a supreme sovereign being. The series American Gods. And so Exodus seems to be that story. It was not about per se people in a particular land exiting a particular region and getting up from under the iron fist of the Pharaoh to freedom and liberation. And why do I say that? Well, number one, that search started because I was thinking about what's the significance of Mount Sinai. It's always Mount Sinai, Mount Sinai, Mount Sinai. Um, uh, and so I just started Googling, Sinai, looking at the definition, and a term came up, actually two terms. And I want to say one is cyanatic and scientist or something like that. And, basically all it says is Mount Sinai, Mount Sinai, Mount Sinai. I'm like, but I've seen this word before. I still ain't figure out where I seen this word Sinai, as a, what do they call it? Is a suffix? Prefix. The first part of the word. But when I seen those terms, cyanatics and cyanistic or something like that, I was like, that's cyanide. That's cyanide. And so I Googled it. Again, all I'm getting is the reference to the Bible, no matter what, how many pages I go into my, Google search. But I also click on images as well. And the image that keeps coming up every single time are conductors and semiconductors and transistors, electrical components that, instruct electrical pulses in which way to go, which makes our computers, it started in radios, and of course it's transitioned now with our current level of technology. And I was like, if you follow me, you may have very well heard me say that in my early years, you know, before I knew what I was going to be when I grew up. Never figured that out, as you can tell. But I started with aeronautics. That's where I started. I started in high school. I talked about how I went to what do you call it, trade school, and I went to aviation school. Started in high school. When I first went to college, just TMI time, story time. And then when I went to college, and you know, I'm starting to advance that, I'm considering going in the Air Force and being a aviation's engineer or whatever it's called. But a part of that field that I wanted to go into required us to test drive airplanes. I'm sure I didn't have to go to that extent, but you know, I don't even want to go into school. That just was part of that field. Very well have made required me to test, like drive or test fly, um, whatever I was working on. So I had to weigh. It was weight restrictions. At the time, I weighed about, I think I was like 140, and I had to weigh, was it 115? Yeah, because I was 25 pounds over the. At the time, I was 25 pounds over the weight restriction. And so, mind you, I wasn't even to that level then. I just had it in, you know, the basics or the foundation, the fundamentals to aviation, aeronautics, or whatever, and the electrical part. And so I learned how to lay, you know, deal with circuit boards and the basic soldering and how to read the transistors, conductors, and how to put them in, and you know, those kind of things. And learn the codes. So then by the time I go to college, I got that knowledge. And so now I'm in college. They offered me. Remember, I'm thinking I'm going to the Air Force. So they had Air Force ROTC. I was in Air Force ROTC and everything that whole we can say field of study consisted of. And so it was, like I told you, math became a real issue for me after I got to a certain level. That was one challenge. But I think the straw that broke the camel's back, I know the straw that broke the camel's back, is in that Air Force ROTC, we had, of course, a lot of calisthenics. And I was in a whole lot of different, I don't know, what they call it, like physical fitness programs. That wasn't the only one I was in. I was really trying to get my weight down to fit within the restrictions, weight weight requirements for that field. As mentioned, I weighed 140, and I think the requirement was 115 because I was like 25 pounds over. That should be about the difference. And so when it came to Air Force ROTC, we doing all these calisthenics and workout regimens, and you know we you know, you learn how to march, salute arms, and call cadence or whatever you're doing, if you whatever you are in there. And so one in 15 minutes. Oh, am I not even live no more? I don't even know. And so we running. The stragglers came in, and who but Joe, one and only, was the last person. So the stragglers came in 25 minutes. The ones that were truly able-bodied, family was probably already military based anyway. Did the mile in 15 minutes or whatever it was. Mile and 50, I think it was a mile and 15 minutes. The stragglers came in 25 minutes. An hour and 10 minutes later, I'm still, oh shit, I'm done. I am done. I am not doing this. I am not doing this no more. I was done. So could you imagine whoever the ROTC leader, I don't remember the terminology, but the captain, the ROTC leader, whoever it was, is like standing there, and he won't let nobody else go either. Because you're a troop. We're a troop. And so we're a troop. Can't nobody go. So everybody's standing there like, go. Go, Nancy. Oh, shit. He was like, go, Nancy. Go, Nancy. You can do it. And my life has been an interesting experience. And so I'm running. I ain't got no more life in me. It had to be about an hour. How long was it? An hour, 15 minutes later. Oh, shit. Stop lying. I don't want to die. That's one of my worst fears, y'all. I don't want to die from laughter, and I don't want to die choking. Okay. And they like, I just remember them standing around. It seemed like I remember like a bullpen or something with the big wood. And they was like, and everybody had on their ROTC jogging suit with like the white shirt, and keeping with the Air Force. We had the blue jogging pants, like Oshkosh Bagosh quality blue jogging pants, and they was like going. I'm like, I'm like, I'm going. I didn't make it, y'all. I think I made it 3/4 of the place. 3/4 of that mile in about an hour, whatever it was. And finally, whoever, lieutenant or whatever he was, came over. Just come on here, Nancy. I was like, I thought I was going to die. It was so crazy. I've had a crazy life experience. So after that, I was like, oh, shit. I am not ever going to do that. And then by then, the level of math I started hitting was just like, tear me up. I started getting confused after all that. After all that time. I was like, I refused to get another headache. And the real challenge was, I remember, was it college captain or lieutenant? I don't know what he was called. I forget. But he was like, how's you gonna get this weight off? You only gotta lose 25 pounds. I was like, I'm trying, and I was trying so hard, y'all. I tried so hard. I had in the morning, this went on for 2 college semesters, and I just couldn't lose weight. What they call it? Number one, I had ROTC, and part of the ROTC was, again, it was the calisthenics, or what you would call it, the basic training, whatever you call that stuff. That was part. And then I also had, it was like advanced aerobics. It was a college class. And so it was like advanced aerobics, and it had different parts to it, so you're in college, doing whatever college do, it be broken up in different parts, so I'm doing that. And I had I ran track, and I was running track at the time. Now, that was every single day, and I could not get up under that one, less than that 140. It might have been like 138 or something. I couldn't get no smaller, because I noticed the more I worked out, the hungrier I get. The hungrier I got. And so I went to Michigan State, and I stayed in the all-girls dorm. And so I had a meal plan, I'm just TMI because it's just tickling me when I look back. Just tickling me, Lord, just tickle me. So I'm about 19 at this time. So I'm doing all these exercises, calisthenics every day. Plus I'm going to school and whatever else I had to do, working. And I would be so freaking hungry. And so I would go, you have breakfast, lunch, or dinner in college. You go to the cafeteria, whatever you call it. And I would eat. And I would be so hungry. By nighttime, I'd be so fucking hungry. So the college had excellent food too. So they would have served things like corned beef. And so I would go get corned beef, and I had my little, little Tupperware bowl. You supposed to eat and just eat in there and not take no food out. Shit, I would go in there, eat what I want. You can eat whatever you wanted. They give you a serving, you go back, whatever. So I have my Tupperware bowl. I've been a snug. They have corned beef. I get so much in my Tupperware bowl. And I had the mini fridge. I take it and put it in my mini fridge. I was stealing cereal out the cafeteria. I stole some halibut. Oh, that's when I first had halibut. And so I ate the halibut. I'll take whatever they had, I would take. And then I worked in the kitchen too. I worked at the bookstore and in the kitchen. There was so much food coming missing up out of that joint that they security guards at the cafeteria door. I almost ate Michigan State cafeteria at the girls' dorm. I almost ate them out of business. They shouldn't have asked me to exercise so much. But I made it through for a while. That was interesting. What was I talking about, y'all? I forgot because I got tickled going back down memory lane. Man, oh man. I done had some crazy life experiences. Who am I? Anyway, I was talking about Exodus. Okay. When I was reading Exodus, I think I was in chapter 16, which was really tripping me out. And it was talking about the Jews exiting Egypt. Headed toward the promised land. And what I think that actually talks about, well, I don't even have the book open, but I'm going to kind of read the little notes I have here. It says, and they took their journey from Elim. And that's passable. Like, I think it's the suffix now. I don't know. It's the suffix, the one part that come at the end. Elim. E-L-I-M. The I-M, I think as a suffix means plural. I almost say suffix. I be getting it mixed up, y'all, because I be off in too many things. I can't remember everything. I be trying to make it stick, but it don't stick. And so that I-M means plural. It's a plural ending. And it occurs with long words from Hebrew. Meaning more, and it means more than one. What am I saying? If the word or the name that I'm dealing with is Elim, E-L-I-M, the I-M lets us know that it is most likely the root word has some origins with the Hebrew language, and that whatever that word is plural, meaning more than one, once you see the I-M. So we know that the word L-M is plural, but when we go back to the L-E, the root word, that's L, which I do believe is a word used synonymously with God. So that is they, talking about the Jews, were left Egypt, or they left Elim, or they left the gods. They left the gods, is what it's saying. And going into further detail, if I don't have the scripture up, but it's saying, hey, they, reading for the scripture, and they who? The Homo sapiens at the time, they took their journey from the gods to, what was it? They took their journey from the gods to, where did it say? Because I was like, was it Mount Sinai? No, it was to what? God dang. I don't want to open that up. Open up what? I should have finished right now. I don't want to open it up. But anywho, what am I talking about here? Before I start going in way, I can't. What am I talking about? When that was calculus. What am I saying about the book of Exodus? What I'm saying about the book of Exodus, it seems to me that the development of computers is encoded in the book of Exodus. And it talks about how, we say, mankind began its move from its dependency upon the gods to its dependency upon technology. Everything from the name Moses, and I'm still researching it, I'm still looking. Maybe I'll just come up empty, but I feel like this is too many it's too many things that make this where it can't be coincidental, is what I'm saying. Oh, excuse me. It can't be coincidental. As you see, all of these pages are my pages of research. Just within a few verses, in this case, relative to the book of Exodus, you know, I think I was in chapter 16 or so, whatever. You know, I'm sorry, I'm listening to the birds chirp. Book of Exodus. And in the book of Exodus, that's here, these four here have to do with the book of Exodus. This is the stuff. There's still some Exodus stuff on here. That's Leviticus. Please like me rambling, share, subscribe, contribute. Anywho, and this, you know what? If what I'm seeing, what I'm digging up is real, a lot of people are going to be heartbroken. A whole lot of people are going to be heartbroken. Which people? People that are diehard religiously diehard, gonna be heartbroken. Based on my life experiences, I think I'm prepared for just quite a few things. I don't know which things I'm prepared for, but this I'm prepared for. Some are not. I look at some of the pictures. I look at pictures, it's like on Facebook of people I know that's still into the church and have been in the church for years. And some of them, I understand how they're still there because they may be, some of them from a much older generation. And so they came from a different, people from with a different mind frame. Their consciousness had not been awakened. It was locked in. And I can see the consciousness of people being locked in for different reasons, especially when we go back to 1800s, 1900s. I can see why people's consciousness have been locked in. And I also can see why certain cultures, consciousness has been locked in for even longer, due to when they talk about slaves, not slavery, people not being taken from one land to another land and not speaking a language and different things like that, losing track of their, ancestral line. And so I can see that. you know. And so here we are at this point in time where people are awakening now. But there's still some, excuse me, I got insect burning, that aren't awakening. And then it may be some that have had the glimmers, of, something trying to wake them up. They know they're seeing something, but they're too afraid to wake up based on what they are seeing. And that was my initial response some 20, 25 years ago. About 25 years ago now. I'm getting old, y'all. It's like, wow, you know. And so here I am again now, like, really. At least I've caught up. And maybe I've caught up after all that time. Maybe I have caught up after all of that time. That's what it feels like. I finally caught up. But being who I am, I messed up a lot too. So anywho, yep, I messed up a lot. Cause then after I TMI, y'all, back story time. After I realized I couldn't be that specific type of engineer. I don't know if it's called a flight engineer. I don't remember what the hell it was called. That's when I went to mortuary science. That was equally as that was a traumatizing choice. And I think I'm just not getting over that trauma. You never know what's going to traumatize you. I put it like this: I'd be a very wealthy woman had I kept pursuing that field of mortuary science, but I'd probably be nuts. And then it's interesting how life teaches. I'm just all over the place. I hadn't planned to be on here this long, but it's interesting how life teaches. Because even though the next field that I chose to study, and I studied for about a year, yeah, I'm one of them students that might as well have been labeled a lifelong student because, man, the trauma, you know, just the realization associated with death and dying and the dying process, and that what is it called? Death is no perspective of person, even children, and that was some deep stuff. That was deep stuff. I think I was much better in that field. It was just the memory, as y'all know. I'm reading. I had a reading deficiency. Why it exists, the reading issue, I don't know why. Because I was raised up in a family that required me, or what they call it, give me incentives to read, and so and to write, even though I did a little cheat. Incentives to read and to write reports on everything that I read. Um, Cash incentives. So I did that. But still yet, the reading has always been a problem for me. Now, when it came to Air Force ROTC, Air Force Army, to the electrical in engineering part of it, the electronic, what was it called? I can't remember. It's been so long ago. Y'all don't, that was long ago. I was 18, 17, 18, 19 with that. Maybe about, yeah. That took me from about 16, 17, 18, about 4 years with that. And then after that, went to the mortuary science, and that's what a reading really became a problem. Everything else I could kind of skate through. But when we start talking about, the different body parts, when you break all the body parts down, and excuse me, and things, and even when you start talking about equipment, and then any field you go into, they make you study the history of it. Like, um, it was the worst, because again, the English is not, when you're dealing with these fields, you're not just dealing with like the English language or your base language. You're dealing with its origins, like if it's Latin origin or Hebrew or Greek or whatever. And so that just, like, I never got that. It was just too much for me. And so I had to go through all kinds of, I had to go through all kinds of tactics to, memorize. I had to make up names of things to substitute, but remember what I was substituting it for. you know, when it came to testing, I had a really, really rough time in my life. I really freaking have. And that's a part of some Aquarius's, I guess, experience based on my research, is that you gotta go above and beyond a freaking call of fucking, excuse me, I did make, of duty. And that's what I always had to do in every part of my life, and it is annoying. It's as such. I ain't cussing. It's such. It's so annoying. It's been so annoying. When I was younger, I didn't know. I was like, why do I have to go through all these extremities to just, get a little bit ruled by Saturn, just to get a freaking little motherfucking bit, like the exercise. And I was like, that shit was crap. Oh, I'm cussing. Let me pull back. Let me refrain. So I was like, man. And then I didn't want to fail. I always loved school, but the reading part always got me. And then on top of it, I would fall asleep. Oh my God. I would fall asleep. If I'm sitting up in the chair, I'm like, oh my God. They say read something that you enjoy. So I used to buy all these different books and magazines of interest. Oh, what a life, man. Oh, man. Here I sit. And so I was talking about mortuary science. And so the terminology, the language. And I took the class linguistics. It's funny how I like teachers. So I ended up taking a class called linguistics. I just thought about this. And to find out it was about language. I'm like, what the fuck is, what is linguistics? What is it? Like, I ain't know. But I guess life was trying to lead me there to help me learn how to read. And it wasn't so. And so I told y'all about me being locked in a freezer when studying in the mortuary science department, and it being dark. And oh my God, I remember the guy's name. His name was James, but I can't remember because I was with James back, and they put us in there as a prank. And it was dark in there, and it was cold. It was like, we can't see, we can't see, we can't see. And they was like, just get to the wall, slide along the wall. You eventually find a light. We found the light. And I found the light. And I told y'all that next class, it was about deceased babies and the causes of their deaths and having to, deal with, it's horrible. I was traumatized after all that. So I moved. I was like, what do I do now? What do I do now? And the next thing that I always liked art and design and fashion and things like that. And so I was like, I'm going to take art history. And art history, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I told you I was always like, I loved it. I was like, oh yeah. Hand raising, I was in everything, and that's what I studied for about. I was in art history for about 2.5 years. For that part. So yeah, lifelong student. and so, well, art history, my biggest challenge was the reading. It was the reading, because that's when the first time I ever seen a term chronos. Do you know I could not pronounce chronos, and I would have to listen to the teacher and the other students say it over and over again. At the time I had a computer, but I don't think I was really accessing like the dictionary. I mean, I've been dealing with computers when they like first introduced to the public, for public use. But I don't remember using like the dictionary. I was still using the standard dictionary because I'm just attached to the older era. And so I still had dictionaries and thesauruses to sit on my side, and those things didn't do pronunciations for you. Now I can. They created the WW dictionary with the pronunciation just for me. And so I remember the name Chronos. Now I was thinking about that the other day. It's like, wow. I remember that being, and I can't remember, it was some twins. The names was similar to that. And I just remember having to make up, what do you call it, alternative with names for each, or not alternative, yeah, pronunciation, so I could pronounce it. I had to spell it wrong so I could pronounce it, but then I also had to learn how to spell it the way it was supposed to be spelled. And that was for everything I ever did. That was for everything I ever did. That stuff been crazy. And can you believe it or not? Well, I can't say I was complete honor, because I would fall off sometime. I would go down. I was only on academic probation one time, but I was always a 3-point plus. But that's a lot of stress on a person to have to go through so much stuff. That was a stress. And I talked about how it was Chinese. I had a couple of Chinese associates, young women, and how they used to had such a stressful existence. But their stress was cultural peer pressure, and economic peer pressure. Yes, you can call that. That's the kind of pressure they had on them, stressors. Mine wasn't like that. I don't remember my family putting no stress on me. You know, I guess when an apple don't fall far from a tree, you put it. You know, they say you teach a child in the way they should go, and that's what they'll do. So my family didn't pressure me about nothing like that, like their family did. So that wasn't my pressure, my stress like that. My stress was knowing that it was a challenge for me to learn. But then the crazy part of it was the opposite, that I love learning. Some people, some young folks don't like school when it's hard for them to learn. You know, they can't read. I didn't care if I couldn't read. I'd be sitting in the class. They'd be like, you want to read? Sure enough. Even without looking, sure enough. Let me read. Oh, that's not that word? Okay, let's try it again. Ooh, I was getting on everybody's nerves all my life. I can see it now. We're going to figure this out. And still ain't figured it out. I'm 50 years old and y'all still ain't figured it out. And so here I sit, even today, still loving, learning, researching, still having to create words for words I can't pronounce. Well, I don't really have to do that now. Google helped me with that. That online dictionary helped me. Whew, thank goodness, you know. But why am I going back talking about all that? Excuse me. Because over the last week I've been studying, you know, trying to get to the foundation of computing. In one of my last live streams, I referred to the movie Hidden Figures, and the book that one of the characters went to retrieve from the library, how she had to steal it because it was in an all-white section and she was a black woman. A black computer programmer, I think she was, and mathematician. The woman that playing Madam C.J. Walker now on Netflix. Her. And so I've been trying to get to the foundation of computing, and it's so like say computing goes back way back to the 1600s, I think 1613. Did you know that? At least. Yeah. The word computer was first used in 1613 in the book The Young Man's Gleanings by Richard, what's that, Wait, y'all know I can't read my own writing. About a man that calculates numbers, which is interesting. If that term was used in 1613, that means that it existed even before then. So the consciousness about computing has existed for hundreds of years. That's right there, about 407 years. Since 1613, 407 years plus. And the computing is a natural process of the human brain. We compute all the time. That's what I do as a seer, as a psychic, as a tarot reader. I compute um, the most probable possibility based on your current situation, you know. And so I can calculate for me. I can even calculate for you. But I talked about this in another live stream. I don't have the capability of quantum computing. Collectively, humanity is capable of quantum computing, does quantum compute, but is not, that's the collective conscious. Quantum computing is the collective consciousness, but we subconscious about it. We're not aware. We're at war and at odds with each other. And that's why I do believe that the powers that have been, that are, and will be, if we don't wake up and see what is taking place, will keep the people in humanity at odds with one another for one reason or another, whether it's economics or cultural or race or whatever the case may be. Because remember, humanity is quantum computing, but we're not conscious of it. You know what I'm saying? Um, and 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 the powers that be, especially now and in the near future, I mean in the future, are their world domination is based on the quantum computing that computers do. That quantum computing is in the control of them, in their in their hands, and they can use it to do the works that they want to do. Where if humanity was on that level, we could overtake technology. But because we're not conscious that we have the ability to achieve that level collectively, we're broke down. Remember that it's an old term called a house divided falls. And so humanity is that divided house that falls susceptible to the control of what, quantum computing, that artificial intelligence. And so, anywho, I was talking about Exodus and how Exodus seems to be a story about leaving the gods, the old gods, the ancient gods, the gods of the earlier of our earlier years, to go on a journey to that's what I was trying to think of, to technology. I can't think of the word. And one of the words that pops up is Moses. And Moses could mean a couple of things. There's a lot going on. I don't want to open up a web page here, but Moses, Moses, the OS itself could stand for operating systems. But then what does the MES stand for? What kind of operating system could biblical scriptures be referring to back then? Oh, I forgot to see when the Bible was written too. But back then, what was the earliest ever operating system? Which I did Google, and it did give me an answer. But it wasn't, see, it's a lot going on. This computing thing has a lot of layers that had to be put in place in order to create it. And so what am I saying? It's so in depth. The field of computing is so in depth that I gotta allow myself to fall down into one of the categories. I got to fall down into the pit of it and come up out of it to clearly understand it. Because what am I saying? Like, we know now technology, they say changes every 2 years. Now they saying every 6 months. You know what I'm saying? So think about just how quickly technology has advanced for us in the last 50 years. It ain't even been 50 years. When I'm 50, I said I was 40. We're going to say 40 years. In the last 40 years, we went from just word chains that commanded the computer to what we have right here before for us. Instantaneous interaction with any part of the world. We can do FaceTime, real time. It has on the internet. You can access anything from dictionaries, all world history, anything. You can play games. It's so much. And so I'm talking about going back to the fundamental aspects of the development to the system that we did, use now. Anyway, back to Exodus. Exodus talks about, I do believe, the development of the computing system, and how man was going to lose themselves in this computing system. And once they lose themselves in the computing system, I got multiple things going on, because remember last time I was talking about Matthews and something else. I was talking about Matthews and I can't remember the other one. But it almost seems like, if I'm recalling right, something about our moral compass was going to decay. Our morality was going to decay. Anywho, anyway, so I was talking about Mount Sinai, and how when dealing with the term cyanide, the term cyanatics came up, and I couldn't find anything but, every time I put cyanide in, all it came up with was Mount Sinai, Mount Sinai, Mount Sinai. But when I click on images, what came up for cyanatics and cyanotist, or whatever it was, is a lot of what they call them, transistors. What do they call? I got too many transistors, transmitters, semiconductors, and things like that. And so I was talking about the what do they call it? Electronics. The basics of electronics, you learn about a motherboard. What they call them things? I can't even think. A little green. They used to be green. What are them things called? What is the little boards? I wrote it here. What's the term of that thing called? Oh, circuit board. Circuit board. It was a circuit board, and you take the circuit board, and you of course, it was a plan. You had to plot the pathway for the electrical circuit to travel. I say it like that. And so you would take the conductors, depending on what you worked on. When I was younger, we worked on with transistors, and I can't remember all that stuff. Okay, but we're going to say conductor, semiconductor, transistors, or whatever. And you had to put them, which was the cyanotics, onto the board, the circuit board, and you had to mount it. You mounted it on the board. Mount cyanotic, the mounting board, mount cyanotic. And then you soldered it in place. And so what I'm saying, that whole concept of mounting a transistor or semiconductor on a circuit board is Mount Sinai. And that is a part of what I'm trying to say, of the book of Exodus. And in the book of Exodus, at some point in time, it talked about how the people should have stayed as they were. And how were they? They were, what we say, like right now, if we lost power or something happened to knock out our power and we couldn't use computers, cars, lights, we'd be knocked, 50, 75 years back. not probably even further, 100 years back, into like the Stone Ages, but you know what I'm saying, the time before lights, we would have a trouble surviving because we don't know how to, farm and do those kind of things. We depend a lot on electricity and power and things like that. And so what am I saying? I'm saying, hey, in Exodus it said these people should have stayed like they were, like what? Farmers and doing different things like that, but they are moving and becoming dependent upon, this new, basically this new system. I might come back. I don't know. It depends on what I find, when I continue to research. But it's really stressful because, again, I keep slipping down these different rabbit holes and that are very extensive and very deep. And when I say rabbit holes, I'm talking about different branches of knowledge. Right now, I'm just down the branch of knowledge, which is technology, and down in that mother sucker is a bunch of barreled holes. And when I say barrel holes, I'm just talking about the computing part of it. And these computers have so many different parts and pieces. And so what am I saying? What I'm looking at in Exodus seems to be describing the various parts and pieces and systems that existed in the early stages of technology. And it seems like it is walking or progressing to more advanced systems of technology. And I'm assuming when by the time I finish my research, if I'm able to do it, it's going to end up with in advanced levels of technology, like AI. Because when I got word multitask operating systems, compounds the complexity of the memory management because of as processors are swapped in and out of the CPU. And this stuff is so much. It is so much. There's so many things going on here, man. And another thing, in 1936, when I say there's so many levels to this, so remember, the very first time it's recorded that the term technology was written was in a book. Computers was written was in 1613, which suggests that the consciousness about computing already existed. Of course, it already existed because man is capable of computing. But what we were moving from is from the singularity of a person computing to quantum computing, which is multiple, the consciousness of multiple beings being computed at once simultaneously. And then what ends up happening by 1936, it has to exist before that because the consciousness exists and it was already being worked on, is about algorithms, like profiles, creating of profiles. And so it's like when I started down one path, remember I'm dealing with the Bible here, it goes from one pathway and it jumped to another one. And then it jumped to another one. It's not a clear, straightforward, let's say, chronicle of the development of technology. It's like I just jumping from one part of it to the other, because I haven't got to the place where I was, let's see, in 1822. Oh yeah, see, I got the different classifications of computers, and all of this is coming from studying again Exodus. Now you got to follow all the clues. This is, and it's just really like overwhelming. Again, that's why we're supposed to work in groups and network, because no one person can do this at all. And all I'm gonna do is, I ain't gonna. I'm overwhelmed, not confused. Overwhelmed, not confused, and that's a problem. Because being overwhelmed, you still don't get nowhere. Being confused, you definitely ain't getting nowhere. So you have to have, a person has to have, or the people that take on any challenge have to have a certain level of comprehension in this field. Can you comprehend in this field? It's important. Based on what I'm seeing right now, it's important to be able to align with the field that you can, that resonates well with you, that you can almost like naturally comprehend. Like me, it's so much stuff when it comes to the technology. I don't, I think that there's certain aspects of when it talking about computing um, and technology, the whole thing, that I can comprehend, but there's other parts of it I won't be able to because it goes into mathematics, it goes into calculus, and that's another thing that was shown in the book of Exodus, calculus, as a part of building the computing system that is now led to our uh, level of technological advancement, which includes AI. Um, like as an independent sovereign agent that's rampant with Wi-Fi, with its own independent thoughts, being able to learn from what it knows, which is our consciousness. I'm saying having a superior physical attributes like running, climbing, jumping. They're tweaking AI now. And so, what am I saying? The book of Exodus talks about this. But when I said in the church, that's not what I got. All I got was these people trying to get out from up under the hand of a cruel leader. You know what I'm saying? They were just trying to live their best life. And here, with that being said, living their best life, we are trying to live our best life, and technology is allowing us. We've moved away from the gods. We have forgotten how to take care of ourselves. We've gotten lazy and complacent. This is a Taurus. Lazy and complacent, living our best life, wanting the highest quality of life. And you know what? Something I'm going through something, many things at once. And another thing that has been on me lately is I just look around and I stop and I blink and I'm like, is this real? Is this world really real? Are all the people that I interact with really real? I was like, I don't think so. Many, but not all. And I say that because I done lived my life. And so y'all, if you follow me, you hear me say, if I've experienced it, you can't tell me nothing. And one of the things I know for sure is that humans have become very lazy. They are complacent. And me, I'm looking like, and y'all done heard me go through this when I was going through it, and I'm still going through it. As I get older, I cannot do what I used to could do when I was younger. Just no way. I just talked about it recently because I've been trying to paint my whole house. And I look around now, and it's still spots I need to touch up. I haven't touched them up. Almost the whole house is painted. This is two rooms that haven't been painted. But the other ones, some of them need touching up, meaning they're, up like in the ceiling, and it needs another layer of paint. And I just look at it. I'm tired of, fussing at my kids. They adults now. I'm like, oh God, I can't do it now. What was I talking about? I was about to go somewhere with this. Old people problems. And, is this real? Are people real? What's going on here? Is the intelligence, the artificial intelligence, is this the first time artificial intelligence has existed? Or has it already existed and we've lived amongst it? And it's the norm to us, so we can't discern that it is some form of old ancient artificial intelligence, or even again alien entities or something here. Because I say that because I had, like I said, when it came to learning, the extra energy I had to put into learning. Again, I'm ruled by Saturn, and Saturn demands this kind of intensity on a being's part. And I know when I was younger, I didn't know that it was the influence of Saturn. It was the intensity that I had to strain myself to accomplish anything. And nobody would ever, people like never gave me an acknowledgement for that. It was I'm like, oh, sometimes, and I got to this place where I was like, hold on, I would never let anybody dismiss what I did, even if it didn't result in tons of money or success. I did that. And had I known that I had to do it, I would have said no, even to Saturn. I would have been, nope, I ain't doing it. I don't give up. If you ain't asking it for it all, I don't care what kind of karmic debt I make, I ain't doing it. I know me, I ain't doing it. But okay, I got caught slipping in this existence, and so I did that. And the reason why I bring it up, because I look around like, I know what it took for me to have a nice house, a clean house. I know to what extent that I would have to slack off in order for my house to fall in dismay, or for my life to fall in dismay. I know the extremity, the level, the intent level of intensity that I had to put in to get certain results. I know that. And I'm looking like, and I know how many children I have. I'm taking everything into consideration, the level of education, know-how, talent, access, everything into consideration. And I'm like, and I look around like, a lot of this stuff in this world ain't real. It's not. And I don't go into detail for different reasons about certain things, but I can say I have literally witnessed what I heard the peace dealer. And I used to wonder what it was a peace dealer talking about. But the peace dealer talked about was it NPC character. And that's gaming terminology. But I was like, I heard that NPC before. And so I eventually asked my son. And my son said that's a non-player character, non-playing character, or something like that. And I was like, and my son explained to me what that NPC is. He said, Mama, when we be playing the game, or you've played the game, and you just walk up on the character and you bump into the character, click on it, whatever, that character carries a message, a theme to create the theme of the storyline. But they not an active figure. They not doing nothing. They not walking, shooting, finding, doing nothing. They just there to deliver the message, and that's it. That's a non-playing character. Excuse me. So non-playing character does the same thing over and over again. No matter how many times you walk up to it and click it, bump it, whatever, it say the same messages over and over again. It never moves. Do the exact same motions. It's programmed. And so I realized one day, I was like, I know quite a few non-playing characters. Say Peace Dilla was right. Yes. And it gave me such a sense of peace. Because it plays back into, again, I know what it takes to maintain a certain quality of life. That's just an example. I know what it takes. Like, for instance, y'all know I have a reasonably large family. I had 5 children. They're adults now. But how much it, and this is another thing. Oh God, so many things. So it would take me to go shopping. I had to go grocery shopping. I had to go grocery shopping. There was no way we were sitting here and starve, even if we was. Matter of fact, I had to go shopping more if we were vegetarians, because vegetables only last about a week. With a good harvest, you might push 10 days with some things. Because I was vegan for a while. Vegetarian for a while, not vegan. Vegetarian for a while. So I was like, I know what that takes. And so you have to go more if you have a large family. Now, if you by yourself, that's a whole different experience being a single individual by yourself. You can get away with a whole lot of stuff when you're a single individual. Or even if you got 2 adults, that's adults. You can get away with a whole lot of stuff. But if you are a person with multiple family members, especially children or young adult, there are certain things that you're not going to get away with. You're not going to get away with, unless I done seen some stuff now, but that's a rarity. Unless like you got kids, you not feeding them. You make them sit down, they cannot move. And I've been in people's houses where they kids I have seen not be able to put clothes on. Not to say that people weren't dirty at all. Matter of fact, they were like myself. They realized what it took to have a certain quality of life, and they wanted that quality of life by any means. So their children always had pajamas on with house shoes, hair done, everything, and they sat there on the bed and they watched TV. They had a little table. They could sit at the table and draw, and you bet not even mark the table. They went and ate in the kitchen. They had a time frame to eat. Once they ate, they bet not drop any food off of that plate. Once that food was done, the plate was immediately taken within a particular time frame, moved over to the garbage, emptied out, immediately washed, put up, dried, boom, back in the bed. You sit there for hours. I seen that. I witnessed it, and I understood it. These people had an immaculate home, white furniture, everything was beautiful. They had a very upscale life. And then the only time those youngsters were able to put on clothes, they put on their clothes. They met them shoes at the door in the foyer, and they put the shoes on and went out to do their family thing, whatever it was. Those children were very quiet, meek, well-spoken, mannerable. It was image. It was particular lifestyle. So I got it. It required something. It requires something. That don't come easy. What am I saying? Don't come easy. I'm talking about a calm, tranquil, clean, a quality of life, living their best life. It takes something. It took what? It took for them kids not to be able to jump around, be free, go do what they want to do, hair fly free. It took that. It took for them to eat within a certain amount of time and eat, and say, cleanly, cleanly. And not to be able to go outside and play and do any of those things, and to behave a certain way when they were out, and behave a certain way at all times. It took something. It took that the caregiver to be an authoritarian in those people's youngsters' lives as well as in their own. It took something. In my life, I had nice houses. One day my house be really, really nice, and then I had 5 again children when they were younger, and in the next second they was hot on my tail, tearing up. And so I understood again, Saturn, what it took to keep going back over and over and over and over and over again. Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be that authoritarian over my children. I wanted them to be free. I wanted them to be able to let the hair down. I'm a creative being. I wanted them to have the freedom to be creative. We did all kind of creative projects. So it was glitter and sprinkle and stuff everywhere. It was nothing like the other people's homes I had visited that, again, had a very immaculate home. You don't make a mess, because we ain't going to clean up all day. Well, for me, I had I got big creative spirit, big energy, big mouth, and I offered that to my kids, creativity, express yourself, and, just do what you got to do. But I also believe in keeping a clean house. That's what me and my kids were part of. Because when I was ready to stop and do that more refined things, my kids hadn't gotten there yet. So we still working on that, even though they're young adults. Still young adults. So anyway, I found myself consistently, I'm the kind of person that always had to have, I'm just talking, I'm just on here. I went to bed too early last night. I found that, like, I was always the person that in my kitchen, I always had a dish pan with, the bleach water, and I walk in and wash every so often, empty it out, make it so I'm constantly washing dishes so they wouldn't get backed up. I washed the clothes, had the piles, wash them, iron them, put them on a hanger. It was reoccurring nonstop, because I wasn't just doing it for myself, but I was also doing it for my children. You know what I'm saying? So it was nonstop. When they were in school, I cooked one meal a day. Their dinner was ready when I get them from school. Their meals were ready. I helped them with their homework. It never freaking ended. I didn't. And one time I was like, what did I get myself into? What did I get myself into? And I'm going somewhere with this. If you just ride the wave with me. Then in summer, Summer was a whole different party. I was up every morning at about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I sat on the porch in the summers. I always have, and drunk my coffee or tea on the porch, read my Bible, whatever I'm going to do my morning meditation. Then I got up. I got my kids up. I got them washed up, and and something about my kids here I had to do every freaking day. I have 4 girls every day. It was insane. I would try to do it once a week. It wouldn't stick, and I would cornroll it here. I was like, what is going on? But it had to be Saturn influence. Now that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Even when I would pay to get their hair done, it just would not last. I'm like, what is it? It was always this consistent demand upon me. And so, anyway, in the summers, I get them up, get them all washed up, dressed, whatever, whatever, whatever. Put them in their little corners, when they were younger, depending on what age they were, to determine what they could do while I was busy doing something else. And so I would go cook their breakfast, and then by the time breakfast is done, then I'm cooking lunch. And then after the lunch, it was dinner, and it was snacks in between, and it was going on field trips, and it just never ever stopped. And if I was in a relationship, that was a whole nother set of demands, then trying to keep me up. It was just nonstop. So what am I sharing that part of my life for? And if I was in school, then I had the school work as well. If I was working, it was the work, it was the school, it was whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm not a liked person. And in retrospect, again, when I look back on my life, I can see why I wasn't the liked person. It was because I had all these demands upon me, and I met them. But I ain't been funny. Had I ever known that my life would have been the way it was, I would have said, no, I wouldn't do it. I would not have done it. And you can decode that however you like. I wouldn't have done it. And so I could just imagine people outside looking in, like, who does she think? Who does she think she is? Because but they're looking at the product of my work. They looking at my house is clean and shiny, or my car clean and shiny. Well, hell, I was just out there washing the car with the kids, and waxing the wheels. Oh, well, my house, when you walk past it, it smelled like Lysol because I just washed every wall and every baseboard. You know what I'm saying? Whoa, our hair is done. Well, I just spent mother freaking 30 hours doing heads. You know what I'm saying? Heads. Oh, we smell good because I just mixed oils. Oh, she had this big birthday party for her kids. Well, yeah, I've been saving up for month after month, or I got in there and I made a decorative cake myself, or whatever the case had to be. You know what I'm saying? So I went above again and beyond the call of duty with Saturn, and I fulfilled those things. Back then, I ain't know nothing about no Saturn. I learned about Saturn maybe 15 years ago, 12 to 15, no longer than 12, about 15 years ago. So, and then I still had to get to know these different astrological energies and their influence. And so what am I talking about when I talk about that? The different families I seen, like the one with the kids that just sat there, or myself and my life, which I almost like worked myself half to death, crippled, and it's people that have had to do more. I'm not going to act like I had to do the most, but what I did was enough, and if a person had to do any more, something wrong with this realm, period. Anywho, it's because it's those NPC players, those non-playing characters that the peace dealer talked about. They do exist, because I watch people with similar profiles as myself, and as or just people with different profiles, some similar, and none of that effort is necessary. I even looked at I'm tell you how this ram pays attention. This is why I asked, are we living in an ancient form of artificial intelligence that is already able to read our consciousness and therefore help to create our reality, and now we're just going into a new upgrade of it? I say that because this non-playing character that I witnessed, I've been witnessing this character for years. I'm talking about years. I'm talking about 10 years, at least a decade. And I'm like, something ain't right. It was almost very provocative to me. in a negative way. And one day I was like, do you realize, Nancy, that person's profile? And based on their profile, meaning if they're single or married, if they have kids or not, and if kids, how many, what demographic area do they live in, what weight, size, etc. are they, what social demand is on them, what social impact, influence, outreach do they have. I'm taking all these parts of their profile into consideration. I was like, that is what the peace dealer is talking about. That's what my son means by an NPC, a non-playing character, because this particular person, this was the breakthrough, profile did not fit their reality. It did not fit their reality at all. As I mentioned, by me having 5 children, I was at the grocery store all the time. I bought in bulk. It was necessary. It was required. And had we continued to be vegetarians, I would have been to the stores and the fruit markets much more often, than when I, buying the menu that I bought as, we could say, meat eaters or carnivores. But this person, never seen him go to the grocery store in 10 years. Never. And once I saw that, I was like, what else haven't I ever witnessed them doing? And I thought about it, I said, based on their profile, they should be doing this. I ain't seen that. Based on their profile, they should be doing this. I ain't never seen that. And I'm talking about somebody that's real, real, real close. Close enough for me to know these things in detail about them. Especially after a decade. Never. Especially the grocery store, I said never. Soon as I said that, it was like something I could breathe. Something came off of me, because again, I was getting like the fudge going on. It was provoking me in a very negative way, to the point of even jealousy. I was like, what the hell? And I kept trying to have to subdue myself and subdue my emotions. And there was that NPC. I was like, I never seen them do that in a decade. I never saw this person go to the grocery store. I have even been in their intimate space many times, and there was no food in the house. I'm telling you, don't eat out. Has a family. I mean, nothing fit. I was like, wow. NPC player, that's a real thing. I was like, and so after that, I was like, I sat up. I was like, because I was in my bed, I be thinking, y'all. I sat up, I said, NPC player, ain't that about a blip? I said, I'm so over that. I am so over, I'm so done with that battle. Because it was just in the last year, it was causing an inner battle. I was like, I am so done with that. And sure enough, when I spoke that out loud, again, is this RAM ancient form of artificial intelligence that is now about to be upgraded, but has the capacity to take in consideration our consciousness in order to help create our reality. Because soon as I said that, what was the response? That was the next thing I saw after over a decade, that the market was accessed. I was like, and then I said, it's been over a decade, too late. So I ain't never seen that happen again. Too late. It was too late. And it did a couple of other things, because when I was talking about recognizing this character was a NPC, I was like, I listed a couple of things, and I seen them things go back to back, back to back. I was like, oh, too late. We're talking about over a decade now. Over a decade? Get the heck out of here. And so I just wondered that. Because I've seen it. I have, again, I've met a lot of people in my life. Not that they were to stay for the long haul, and 10 years, 15 years tops is over for the best of them. And so I also get, I know who I am. Like I talk about that that particular family I gave as an example, the ones that didn't move. They didn't move. Because they had an amazing house. They had a white, white carpet, white sofa, beautiful, 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 elegant home. But they didn't move, you know. But that was in line with their character. It's okay. That was the sacrifice. Me, I wanted to have a nice house, which I did. It was just in and out. Because I also wanted to be creative and to be free and do those type of things. And so I did it. And it was a cost. And I paid the cost. I never wanted, you know, me or my kids to be dusty, broke, busted, or, you know. So I paid the cost. And I just always, when I say, when is it going, when am I catch a break? When is it going to stop? You know, is it ever going to stop? You know, and that made me a different type of person for a while. So I done worked through different transitions. I don't know if y'all riding this wave with me, you know, understand what I'm talking about. But eventually, you know, it subsided. It subsided a few years back, and I was like, well, now my children are adults now, but it was more than just that, because I dealt with a lot of other influences, you know, energetic influences, like I talk about Mandela effect and gang stalking and all those kind of things. It subsided some years ago, and I just remember I was like, I said, it seems like, I was scared to say it. I was like, it seems like it's all subsiding. I remember saying, I was like, don't say nothing, because I needed to catch my breath so bad. After all them years, I was like, oh my God. And so since the time, it has continued to not reside. You know what I'm saying. And so the other day, I saw a new creator here on YouTube, and so I clicked on it. He had made a post. I guess we can make like posts here on YouTube where you say something, you don't have a video, but you just make a little post or whatever. And his name was New Breed, and he asked, what was the statement? He asked, have y'all noticed? No, yeah, I clicked on his. I seen this little thing, so I went to his channel to see what his channel was about. And in the video I watched, he said, he was referring to, you know, gang stalking. He's like, have y'all noticed this to calm down? When he said it, I was like, wow. I was like, And basically he's saying, I'm kind of scared to see what's going on, you know. And I know a lot of things like this, it's weird. You know, it's possible that we may be, when I say we, you know, I'm talking about people, may be at this place where we're going to have to, well, I ain't going to say we got to do nothing, but it might be more beneficial for us to acknowledge our reality may not be what we have been taught to believe it is. Like, people might be like, what's gang stalking? You know, what's gang stalking? Well, a lot of people experience gang stalking. I didn't know that when I was going through it. I just knew I was living an insane life. Then get here on YouTube, and after some years of you know, doing research, typing in keywords, all of a sudden YouTube, of course, starts suggesting videos that talk about where people are sharing their experiences of gang stalking. Find out I ain't the only one. Matter of fact, find out the terminology. I knew I was just being effed with. It was insane. It wasn't warranted. So what is this? Who knew? Gang stalking. You know, so our reality is not what we thought it was. And it's interesting, that gang stalking thing, because I guess people are going to have a hard time being honest with themselves, because number one, the gang stalking is performed by other people. So that says something about them people. Whomever does that participates in those type of activities. So what I'm talking about, getting to understand what our reality really is, what it consists of, is going to be difficult, because we co-create our reality. And just dealing with the area of gang stalking is done by other people. So nobody gonna say, hey, I'm a gang stalker. Yeah. And other people, I wonder sometimes, are people unaware? Are they like Manchurian candidates and don't even know that they're gang stalking um, because maybe they're provoked or forced to through like mind control to stalk people, not to have a liking for them or to have a hate or disdain toward them or want to cause strife. Is it some type of mind control that the person doesn't know that they're doing it or not? You know what I'm saying? Or are keeping with gang stalking, are people so hateful when they see something in you? The church call it your little light shining. You know, like my house smelling like pine sol, and my kids being clean, and our hair always being done, and I'm driving a shiny car, and I gotta look like a good man. Hating so bad that you want to destroy it and anything me and anything attached to me. You know what I'm saying? That's done by people. Anything, anything like anytime we deal with these different viruses is all this these theories come up that these viruses are man-made, meaning somebody intentionally went into this world, found different things, materials or elements that didn't go together, put them together. I mean, I can't say they didn't go together. They didn't. The product of them going together was negative for man. You know, when did it intentionally and say, oh, this don't work for man, but I'm going to put it out here. I'm going to put the coronavirus out here. I'm going to put AIDS out here. I'm going to put cancer out here. I'm going to put everything out here. Yeah, it came from this world, but these elements didn't have to go together and we wouldn't even have the issue. But yeah, we found that these elements can go together and they make this issue. We're going to push them on the people. You know what I'm saying? Those are people that's doing that. And they're okay with that. That's crazy. That's people. It is people. You know what I'm talking about is our reality is not what it seems like it is. We've been taught it's one thing, and so now that we're in a time period where the reality is being exposed to us, we want to reject what we're seeing because number one, it's us. So we act like it. Nope. I don't know nothing about gang stalking, but you're a gang stalker, or you are what they call it a terrorist. You know, I don't know anything about terrorism, but you're a terrorist. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Like in the music and entertainment industry, writing and singing, violent music of destruction, da 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 da, or being disrespectful to a race, a gender, a culture, a creed, or whatever, and having social negative effects and different things like that. But we don't know that. We don't know that we're writing bad music. We don't know that we're writing music that is detrimental or debilitating. We don't know that. And we turn our head, but you the one writing the music. You the one singing the lyrics. I live in the inner city. I could be out and about, walking on a bus or wherever in a public building, and here comes somebody got dang on rapping about some violent stuff, some nasty stuff, some vulgar stuff in front of kids, other adults, seniors. No respect, but you not conscious that you're singing something that is offensive, or saying something offensive, or citing something offensive. You don't get that. And if a person turns around and helps you move and help you be conscious of what you're saying, you get an attitude and you want to fight, defensive, all kind of things. People have been killed, murdered for that type of thing. For somebody trying to turn their another's attention to what they're doing, helping them be conscious. Like, do you know what you're saying? Do you understand that not everybody wants to hear that? You know, that's just an example of what I'm saying, how it is humans that's creating all of this. It is humans that's creating all this. You know, it's crazy. It's humans that's creating homelessness. What are we, it's like this, what are we looking for? What are we looking for? The people are homeless because they don't have enough money. But this is my thing. This is the craziest thing. But we act like we don't know what's going on. Again, I live in Detroit. And you know how a major city is like the tri-county area. So you can ride through different neighborhoods. The most devastated, blighted neighborhoods are, you know, the low income neighborhoods serving minorities, um, and the homeless. But as you move on up out of those type of neighborhoods, you get more homes, better quality of homes, more elaborate homes. Keep on moving on up into the next neighborhoods. To From squatters to renters to homeowners to, people that inherited their property to buying a house, building a house. We're gonna move on up until you live near the waterfront. But what I noticed that the further up, the more houses you get, the more expensive it gets, the more vacancies there are. The more vacancies there are. And it's okay for those vacancies to be there, even though there are people that are homeless. I often talk about one visit that I had. I visited a museum. It wasn't even a museum. I visited a home. Remember, the last field I studied was art history. And so even in college, you go on field trips. So we go on a field trip. We went on a field trip to Henry Ford Estate. We went to his wife Edsel Ford's estate as well as his Henry Ford estate. So what am I saying? I'm talking about two different mansions within 25 miles or so of each other. His mansion, her mansion. Now, neither one of them are alive now. I'm sure they have all children. I remember doing some research on them because I was trying to find out who their millennials were. Because I knew their millennials were about to take over the world, be a part of the crew to take over the world. And that's when I found out most of millennials are hidden from us. I talked about Paris Hilton. I talked about Prince Charles and Harry and them. But most millennials are hidden from us. Anywho, and I know the millennials, these millennials are going to be insane. They are insane. They are, especially, they've been bred narcissist. Mark my words. When they start coming out. I should still be here when that happens. But anywho, I was talking about visiting these estates. And my whole point is, I just remember walking through these estates, and I remember going, I think it was Miss Ford's estate. And in the yard, it was acres, but in the yard, there was this playhouse. First time I had seen this concept of a child's playhouse. That was maybe like now people are moving into tiny homes. They are living the minimalist life. Well, Edsel Ford, I do believe, created a miniature home for her granddaughter or something like that. That was like one of these miniature homes. And so that's where our tour began, with this miniature home. And I just remember walking through this miniature home like, wow, somebody could live here. This is interesting. Now, this was long before these miniature home stuff started popping up. So, because remember, the miniature home is a response to the foreseen economic collapse that was going to occur. So these people been seeing this. I seen it, and I'm Baroque, and so I know if they were in any particular field, there was evidence in that field, any given field, about what was going to happen. I'm all over the place. So I'm looking at this little playhouse like, wow, this is some deep stuff. And then I remember shortly after that, going in that playhouse, it's strange how life is. Again, are we living in some type of ancient artificial intelligence that helps us to create our reality at any given time? Because after that, I remember going to Home Depot and different places like that, Lowe's or whatever it was. And all of a sudden, it was all these miniature homes. And then they were life introduced these fabricated miniature homes for kids. Out of nowhere, just out of nowhere. Right after I went to see that little miniature house, I was like, Then that wasn't, I guess, a really big seller. And so they reintroduced it or rebranded it as what now people get as replacement garages. Like in my area, the garages, the houses are like dang near 100 years old, 80, 70, 80 years old. So, the materials, especially in some communities, are made of wood. By now, the wood is dry rotted, has been susceptible to termites, all kind of things, weather, erosion. So the garages, got end up being falling down or being knocked down, and there needing to be replacement. People not wanting to build a whole new garage, so they got these shelters, what they call them, but they are very durable shelters. So it went from when I seen that house, within 30 days it had to be. Then all of a sudden, here go children houses at everywhere you go. Everywhere from Toys R Us to Home Depot. But these were gotten big. I ain't talking about the little playhouse. I'm talking about the full house, just like at the Ethel Ford estate. And then when that wasn't a big seller, within the next year, it went to the shelters to be in the yard as a replacement garage or shed. I was like, See, life didn't think I was paying attention. I always been paying attention. I just knew I was dealing with some real life freaky stuff, so I'd be like, when nobody else paying attention, everybody else was quiet, turned up, or drunk. So I was like, whatever. What I'm gonna say something for? So I be the weirdo? I would say something to the people that were more intimate in my life, and what I was the weirdo. And if the people that was intimate in my life was looking at me like I was a little weird, I'm like, ain't no reason for me to say nothing else. I'm gonna just keep it moving, and that's what I did. And so, anyway, we go inside the house, either estate, Mr. Ford or Mrs. Ford estate, and into these mansions and these fully furnished homes, mansions, fully furnished estates. With fireplaces you could walk into. Just fully tapestries, fine furniture, all dish setting, glasses, anything you can think of, the chandeliers, beds fully made, kept clean, because there's a continuous maid service there, or what do you call it? What do you call it? Conservators. What do they call them? You know what I'm saying? And so they took care with people there on hire 24 hours a day to maintain the estate. To people that were already deceased, that millennials are missing somewhere, just hidden, shrouded somewhere. And so they turned it to a museum in order to try to cop some additional funds to help maintain the estate, from the electricity, everything. But my point of saying is these really, really fine homes or estates. Nobody lived there. Nobody lived there. Coming back from the estates, the surrounding neighborhoods were beautiful, and there were empty houses. Of course, back in the day, it was known that if you could get a listing and actually just go into these houses and see these houses, because nobody lived there. But there were a lot of homeless people. See, again, I'm from Detroit, and I remember when downtown Detroit was a ghost town. Only time it was any traffic was during the hours between 8 and 5. And then, like on the weekend, it was ghosts. You could hear your voice echo. Only thing that you might see during this time period was the homeless. Homeless wasn't as bad then. Was a lot of prostitution. All of these things. But our point is, as the homeless population grew, the people that dealt with that, did try to deal with it, were limited to like old hotels that only, of course, house so many. When you dealing, a lot of times when dealing with the homeless, not to say all, but a lot of times there's a mental illness associated with the clients, and or drug addiction, and or alcoholism, different things like that. But I just look at the imbalance that exists in our society, where these people have inadequate shelter, if any, inadequate health care, if they get any, but there are so many different places, is what I'm saying out here, to house them. Not only could it be housing, it actually could be facilities. I done seen so many different things um, in my life and in my travels. I done seen some things. So I be like, it's a lot when it, when you experience it. And I say when you experience it because I again have witnessed. And let me tell y'all a story. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I don't know how this is going to come out, if I'm even say it right. Because I didn't know so many different types of people. And when I say type, I'm talking about people, quality as well as financially, just on different levels. I don't know how to say it. The diversity of people, even race, religion, everything. And again, my knowing a person can be from a few months to maximum amount of time I ever known anybody outside of my family, and was a more intimate association with them may have topped off at about 15 years. Never, I don't think it ever went past 15 years. So, what I noticed is that, and if you follow me, you've probably heard me say this, is that many times I found that people that have had more difficult lives are much more humble and close to righteousness than any other people I've met. They have possibly that exists because they've been through so much. I mean, everything. That's why I talk about drugs and drug addiction, abuse, alcoholism, and things like this. Some of the experiences that some people have gone through have humbled them so. You know what I'm saying? Humbled them so they may not have end up being as humble and as close to righteousness as they are had they not gone through the experiences they've gone through. And I say that even for myself. I may be a horrible, narcissistic, self-serving, demonic being had I not gone through what I've gone through. For real. And so that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of experiences and thoughts that help form, cultivate who I am. Like, okay, I had to take that in consideration because I'd have dealt with that a whole different way. I dealt with that a whole different way. But then it's the people that didn't have the challenges. I done met them, I done had persons ask me, who do you know life is perfect? And it was their life. But they weren't the only one. Some people have a really, really nice life. And that's interesting. That some people can be birthed into this world, and every time you turn around, it's some bull crap happening. And it don't even have to be as a direct result of their own works. That's some bull crap. But then there are other people that are born into the world, they're literally born with a silver spoon in their mouth. No troubles, no pains, no agony, nothing at all. Nothing severe. I'll say that. But it has to be at least one out here where it's not even anything there of any resistance or pain. It has to be. Because there are others on the opposite end of the spectrum. As soon as they came in, wasn't nothing but troubles and ills. Not by the works of their own hand. So, I'm going to finish this statement and I'm going to get off here because I've been on here for how long? Forever just talking. And I said I was going to talk a lot. I'm going to try to break this talking down, y'all. So, I just been up all night long. Been asleep all night and woke up in the middle of the night and been up since. So, some of these people, many of the people that I've met that have what we consider very nice lifestyle, fairly attractive human beings. Oh, if they're educated, that's a whole nother level. Oh my God. And life has never told them no. Never slapped them on the wrist and nothing. Um, how can I say this? They're arrogant, many, most of what I've seen, of anybody that is not like themselves. I ain't say similar, not like themselves. You are beneath them. This is reality. You are beneath them, and you deserve what you get. These are the things that I've heard. And especially when I was younger, I was like, what? I just try to ignore it. But I think about 5 or 6 years ago, I heard somebody say something quite similar. And I'm telling you how it was. I decided to have a family function. And so I'm out shopping, and yeah, I was trying to think the time frame, but yeah, about 5 or 6 years ago. I was out shopping. So I was doing the Costco's thing, the GFS thing, the Gordon Food Services thing, the Sam's Club thing, the warehouse thing. Buying in bulk, love buying in bulk. But this time I'm buying in bulk because I'm having a family function. So I done got my menu down and my guest list down. And so let me tell y'all something about me. I'll tell y'all my life been like a roller coaster. So I've been invited to different types of events with different people, and they be like, just come, just come. Most folks know me when they know me, and I'll be like, well, I don't have anything to bring. I'm not gonna come. No, Nancy, just come, just come, just come. So I'll go. So what I know about me is that sometimes I have it, and other times I don't have it. So when it's my time to give back, I give back. And I give back openly, with my arms open, my hands open. Because again, when I'm in people good graces, I'm in that people good graces. So I many times I've gone places empty handed. I didn't have anything to take but myself. Um, and so when it's time for me to give back, I give back, and I give back abundantly. I'm also the kind of person, if you invite me, of course, I have a little, I know, understand etiquette, and I have lab class, so I know what to partake in, when to partake in, and how much to partake in, but I will partake, you know, and so I'm the same way. When I invite people over my house, I expect you to come enjoy yourself. So, but what I'm saying, most people are not like that, especially if they have been granted, we'll say, an enchanted life. If they've had a level of, and I'm not talking about extraordinarily Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey rich. I'm talking about if at any level of a person having an enchanted life, all that they deem falls up under them is not worthy of anything. You get what you deserve. And that's so crazy to me. And so anyway, I'm out doing the shopping, getting my stuff off my list, and the person asked me like, "Oh, well, well, why are you giving them that?" I was like, "What do you mean?" Um, they don't know anything about that. I'm like, "What?" I was like, "You know what?" Because I'm the kind of person, I told you, I'd be in the zone. I'd be in my own mind doing my own thing. But when this person said that, it snatched me out of that zone to get, comprehend what they were saying. They were saying that these people are not worth that. Who weren't worth it relative to this story? The people on my list, which was a wide variety of people that I felt could get along with each other. They may have been from different walks of life, but how can I say, some people can be poor or broke, but they still have class and etiquette. And then there are other people that have obtained a certain level of wealth in their life, and they can still be humble. And so there are different people that go better with each other, And so I was having a family and friend function, and so the list of about 70 was based on that, those dynamics, and so that's how I set the list up. And so I bought what I wanted on the list, but question was from this person was, why would you do this? They're not worthy of that. I'm like what? They don't know anything about that. How you gonna tell me about my guest list and who's on my guest list? All they were looking at was, excuse me, they were deeming the lower end of my guest list. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this has happened so many times in my life, to the point, again, I go back and like, we act like we don't know who we are. People act like they don't know who they are. And so like I end up telling this person, and I've had to tell them multiple times as well as other people, look, okay, well, let's say, example, let me give you an example. Everybody hasn't had caviar. Yes, it is. At a certain time in my life, I had never had caviar. It wasn't until somebody that had access or lived a lifestyle that included caviar that I was introduced to caviar myself and allowed to partake. At that point in time that I was introduced to, we'll say, one of the delicacies in this world, at that time, number one, was a new experience. I also got to know if I liked it or didn't like it, if I wanted to continue to partake in it or not. If I had decided that I wanted to continue to partake in it because I had found that I had a fancy for it, then that means that I would have to live a certain life or acquire a certain level of financial, stability, or have access to a certain level of money at certain times, at least, to be able to partake in that, because it costs so much per ounce. You get what I'm saying? But I would have never known that if somebody hadn't initially introduced me to it or offered me the experience that I got to partake in it. So what am I saying? Most people don't believe that. They don't believe that on no levels, on the lower level or the higher level. If it's a person under them, most people are like, they not worth it. And then, I've had it happen so many times. And again, I've been in a lot of different, circles in my life. I gotta stop drinking so much coffee, but I just really enjoy it. I've been in so many circles, and I just be like, it's like an insult to me. I be like, wow, this person. I'm like, these people really think they something special. And I tell you, I'm arrogant too. Like, you're nothing. You know what I'm saying? Unless you don't bleed, and you ain't gonna die. You know what I'm saying? And you can restore yourself at will. Unless you know the answers to the universe, you're nobody. As far as I'm concerned, you're nobody. I don't care what level you on. We all in the same boat. I ain't gonna cuss. And so, over and over again, I've heard this before, over and over again. And again, why am I talking about it? Because it's like people act like they don't know who they are. And when I say that, a person that has that type of belief will act like you ain't saying nothing. Like they don't know nothing. Like, but they the very ones that they know then said that about another person or another group of people, etc., etc. And again, our reality is not what we have been led to think it is. And then this whole thing is it's on such a fine level. Many times we look at what I'm trying to say. Many times we look at the bigger issues that exist, like institutional racism, the bigger things, or terrorism. Terrorism, I'm not talking negatively, YouTube, so please don't start. We think when it comes to global stuff, but gang stalking is another form of that. but it's on a more micro level. It's a smaller level. When I was just talking about being, what is the word? The sense of entitlement exists on a macro level, like on a global level. Sense of entitlement is if I own it. Racial supremacy, sense of entitlement is if I own it. That same sense of a superiority or entitlement is also amongst us within our immediate environments, is what I'm saying. But we act like we don't know what's going on. It's what's going on. And so all of that, what am I saying? All of that, then I'm going to let y'all go. Going back into how the book of Exodus seems to be talking about the development of computing systems. And we are currently in a time period where it appears to me, based on my life experiences and all the evidence that I've accumulated and the breadcrumbs that's still laying around, that we are and have been living in an ancient form of artificial intelligence. But currently, it's time for that artificial intelligence to be upgraded. And so now when we look at it, see, we've been living with it, so we've been desensitized to it. It's common to us, so we can't identify it. We can't discern it. But now that we're going into a more advanced form of it, we can see it. We can see it, And so we are having a concern about going over into this new advanced form of AI, thinking that it's brand new, but I'm saying it's not. And I'm also saying that, hey, the only way I can see that humanity won't be overtaken by this new level or this upgrade in technology and artificial intelligence is if we upgrade ourselves. And the only way we can upgrade ourselves has to do with that being aware that we are a collective consciousness and having that collective consciousness work together. But the only way we can have the collective conscious work together is to first spark our localized consciousness and ability to work together. But we can't even do that. Why? Because on an intimate level, within our immediate environment, we have what we have, let me, because I want to say it a certain way. We have people that have a sense of supremacy and entitlement. And when we call these people out on their sins, we'll say, that sense of supremacy or the sense of supremacy and entitlement, as an example, and all the other things I talked about earlier, them sins, then the underdog, it's always the underdog. Y'all, you always play the underdog to somebody, is being called what? A hater. A hater. Well, we say we all play the fool sometime. Well, it looks like we all get to play the supremacist as well as the jealous hater. So, based on that, we can't work together. So we can't activate our collective consciousness. So that means then we'll be overtaken by this new advancement in technology. Anywho, I enjoyed talking to you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for dropping by here to Can Angels Fly, Tarot, and more, and allowing me to rant once again. Until next time, bye.